We are project number 21, the Kitchen Safety Assistant. I'm Dana Schrader, that's Tim Alexander, Karina Self, and Kevin Ficker. And our project is to detect unattended cooking and prevent possible fires. I primarily worked on packaging and power systems. Tim worked on the app as well as more on the power systems. Karina worked on the server, and Kevin worked on the embedded as well as power draw. Our project is solving the problem of residential cooking fires. We found through our research that over $1 billion in the US are lost due to kitchen fires. So having some sort of device that would be able to notice the fires before they happen could be really beneficial in our houses.
So our implementation of this project is, it kind of falls into four main areas around our microcontroller, which is basically the core of the system. There's our sensor input, which is dealing with the PIR sensor to detect presence, as well as a thermal infrared grid to detect the cooking temperature. It's basically like a low-resolution thermal imaging camera. Our power is just 4 AA batteries, a pretty standard setup for these kind of devices. Our local I/O is a remote buzzer that sounds the alarm if there's a cooking alert happening and you're nearby. It's audible and pretty simple, straightforward. Setup button to configure it. And the big part is our remote I/O, which all runs through Wi-Fi. This enables us to have the setup app, which is a very easy way to configure it initially. Our cloud server, which does SMS text messaging so that you can get alerts when you're out of the house. And also our smart outlet, which is an automatic shutoff system for the stove, which would ideally in a real situation be either a regular shutoff or a gas shutoff valve that would just stop the flow of gas into a gas stove, or just an electric one that would turn off the power directly.
The toughest challenge our team faced during this project was certainly power draw. Our expectation throughout the product requirements was to have a 1-year battery life. At first, based on data sheets, that seemed like a fairly straightforward thing, but as we got down to it, there ends up being lots of unexpected sources of power draw. So we had to go one by one, find which components were causing this unexpected power draw, eliminate them. Furthermore, the code had to be optimized in such a way that the power draw would be minimized.
So one thing, or a couple things that our team learned about product development were that it really is a team effort. There are a lot of different components that you have to be aware of, and it really helps to have good team communication skills, as well as you just have to have a lot of enthusiasm for it. Without the enthusiasm, you'll get worn out pretty easily. So just good team communication skills and a lot of enthusiasm for the project, and everything else kind of just falls into place if you work hard enough.
So we'll go ahead and start with a demo. We have an instruction manual here that basically outlines how someone would do initial setup here. The first thing is just ensuring that the smart outlet is plugged in, which it is, that's behind me. And the second step is just having the app installed. So we have that on the phone right here. And then from there, all we have to do is scan a QR code to associate the app with the specific device we're using. So if you go ahead and click add a new device and then continue. And then all we have to do is scan that and we can continue. So we have the setup here. It asks us if we want to name the device just to keep it handy, keep track of where it is or who's using it. So we can continue again. And this is where we are at our phone numbers for the remote alerting. That has been transmitted out to the server, so that'll be registered. Anytime this KSA needs to send out an alert, it'll contact the server, which has this number stored. Our next step is just to connect to the KSA's own wireless network, which it's outputting right now. And this will allow us to mount it correctly, as well as connect it to our real home Wi-Fi network that we would be using. This will let us continue. And from here, we can turn on our burner over there and then press the start button, and we'll actually be able to see the thermal imaging going on. Our burner is right there, the hot point. This is an easy way for a user to check that they've mounted it in the correct location, which in this case it is correctly mounted. So we can go ahead and click next. And then this is where we associate it with whatever network we want to use. In this case, it's just NCSU's network, which has no password. If you have a password, you can choose whatever security level you're using and enter that. So no password. If we hit finish, the KSA has received that information and our app is finished. It's still available if we need to do any other kind of setup later on. So our device should be connected to the internet now, and you should have gotten a text message alert. We can just wait until it's no longer seeing presence. Right now it's seeing presence because we're all standing underneath it. We have a demo visualizer on the screen which is showing that state and how long it'll be until the next alert. We have different thresholds for alerting depending on what you're cooking. If it was a lower temperature, then it would take longer to time out. If it's a hotter temperature, as if you were frying something maybe, it would be much shorter until it times out. And the timeout is just the time since it saw a presence last. It's a very easy way for us to detect if presence is still available or not, and keep someone safe in their home. So if we all step away from the device, that presence will go away while the stove is still heating up. And after it times out, it'll start beeping and we'll get a SMS alert. In addition, the stove should shut off because of our shut-off relay there. And then as soon as we come back into the picture, it'll see presence again and stop alerting. Our stove is shut off properly, as indicated by the light on the front, and we did receive the text message. So the process is all completed successfully, and from now on, if you still wanted to do cooking, you could go ahead and press the button and the stove would turn back on, and you'd be ready to go. The device would be reset and you'd be ready for to continue whatever you're doing initially.